The world of pro wrestling, and specifically WWE, is very fast moving. In one moment, you can go from being a main event star to a forgotten jobber, and sometimes a wrestler's downfall in WWE can be blamed entirely on them, and today we're going to discuss a few of those cases, so like the video and let's talk about it. Let's talk about WWE wrestlers who destroyed their own careers. Brad Maddox debuted for the WWE in 2008, at first being part of OVW, which was the WWE developmental territory at the time, under the name of Brent Wellington. He stuck around in OVW for a while, but hadn't actually been signed to the WWE, but that would change in mid-2010 when he was finally signed to a WWE contract, sent to FCW and renamed to Brad Maddox. And Brad Maddox would have a nice run in FCW, spending 2 years there, winning the Florida tag titles twice and the Jack Briscoe 15 championship once, because yes, that is a real title belt. It was a title belt that could only be contested in 15-minute Iron Man matches, the more you know. And he was also the final champion for both of these belts, but like I said, he would spend 2 years in FCW, being there from 2010 until 2012, when WWE decided it was time to call him up to the main roster after FCW shut down. He was called up to the main roster in August 2012, but despite being a wrestler and wrestling in the WWE system for over 4 years now, WWE instead opted to use him as a referee instead. He would start refereeing random matches on TV and would of course be the referee for the CM Punk vs Ryback match at Hell in a Cell 2012, where he would be introduced to WWE fans after costing Ryback the win and the WWE title. Brad Maddox would explain his actions, stating that he always dreamed of being a WWE wrestler but kept on getting rejected, so he cost Ryback to try and make a name for himself and get a job with the WWE. An interesting idea, but one that would ultimately be a bust, as Brad Maddox was presented as nothing but a jobber after this. He would start a storyline where he would hang around Raw and SmackDown trying to get a job and facing top stars to try and earn a contract, but just getting squashed. And after this concluded, WWE would go into the next idea for Brad Maddox, which would be to make him the Raw Assistant General Manager to Vicky Guerrero, which they did on the February 18, 2013 episode of Raw. However, he ultimately lasted only 4 months in this role, as in July, he was promoted to the main General Manager position. Brad Maddox though wasn't very memorable as Raw GM, and when the Authority were introduced at SummerSlam in August, just a month after, he pretty much became useless in his role and fizzled out as an authority figure after numerous attacks by Randy Orton and the Authority. He would then be taken off TV entirely and only work exclusively house shows and dark matches, sticking around in the company all the way until November of 2015, with only one match on Main Event and an Andre the Giant Battle Royal cameo being his only TV wrestling appearances. And that was before he was suddenly released from the company that month in November of 2015. And people weren't surprised to see Brad Maddox was released, as clearly the WWE had no plans for him, but the reason he was released was actually surprising, as reportedly he was released for using the phrase "cocky pricks" in a promo during a dark segment. A puzzling reason to fire someone, as not only was language like this not uncommon in the WWE, but it was also literally untelevised. Nobody saw it. But maybe WWE were just looking for an excuse to fire Brad Maddox. Ultimately though, Brad Maddox did pretty much nothing after the CM Punk Ryback match, and is perhaps best known for a series of leaked videos he was involved in, rather than his actual stint in the WWE. Bronson Matthews, otherwise known by his real name of Josh Bredel, was a contestant on the 6th season and 2015 edition of WWE Tough Enough. If you don't know somehow, Tough Enough was WWE's reality show where hopeful WWE wrestlers would live together and do challenges each episode, with the public voting for eliminations and a winner, with the winner getting a WWE contract. And despite no prior wrestling experience, Josh was very impressive on this Tough Enough season and made a name for himself as the Yeti, accompanied by his signature Yeti call. He was a fan favorite on the show, so much so that he would win the whole damn thing, making it to the live finals of the show and beating out runner-up ZZ to be the men's winner of WWE Tough Enough Season 6. In September of 2015, he was assigned to NXT and would begin reporting to the Performance Center, and in December of 2015, he would start making appearances on live events where his name was revealed as Bronson Matthews, with his official debut match coming soon and fans anticipating it. However, something you might already be aware of is that Tough Enough is completely cursed, as the majority of Tough Enough winners most of the time usually don't go on to do much in the WWE and can be often met with hostility from the rest of the WWE locker room. Daniel Puder, for example. And fans wondered if it would be the same case for Josh, and sure enough, Bronson Matthews' WWE career would become completely cursed after one fateful day on Twitter in January 2016. On January 18th, Josh was live tweeting Raw and tweeted out saying, "Yup, I like it. #SocialJobbers," in reference to the Social Outcast stable, and this was a tweet that would catch a lot of heat from fellow WWE locker room members for his use of the word jobber, and they would start publicly shaming him. Kevin Owens would tweet out, "Look at the veteran here with the big fancy insider terms," before announcing that he had blocked him, and Cody Rhodes would tweet out calling him a dick and telling him to enjoy getting dressed in the hallway, and then there was Heath Slater, who was a member of the Social Outcast, who would clown on him for deleting the initial tweet. Josh would acknowledge his mistake, but the damage was done, and despite finally making his WWE debut and beginning to work NXT house shows, this day on Twitter pretty much destroyed his entire WWE career. He wrestled his final match at a live event on July 7th, 2016, before he would be pulled off live events and would sit at home all the way until November 5th, 2017, when he was released from his WWE contract. Josh has not been involved in wrestling since, and whilst it's hard to predict how far he could have gone in wrestling, it's no doubt that that one singular tweet did irreversible damage to his WWE career. Mandy Rose was also a part of the 6th season of Tough Enough, but as opposed to Josh, she would finish runner-up on the show, but also as opposed to Josh, Mandy would have a pretty successful WWE career in the end. She was signed to the company despite not winning Tough Enough and would start wrestling in NXT under the name of Mandy Rose. She was used as a jobber at first, but surprisingly, she would make her WWE main roster debut on the November 20th, 2017 episode of Raw, debuting alongside fellow Tough Enough contestant Sonya Deville, aligning themselves with Paige by attacking the women of Raw and forming the stable Absolution. However, Absolution wouldn't end up lasting very long, as Paige was forced into retirement and would announce the retirement on the Raw after WrestleMania 34, effectively ending the stable, but Mandy and Sonya would continue on as a tag team, dubbing themselves Fire and Desire. They would move over to SmackDown, and Fire and Desire were definitely in a better spot than before, but still weren't quite there yet. The two were on the SmackDown brand, where they did all kinds of antics, such as when Mandy Rose tried to steal Jimmy Uso from Naomi in one of the most wild modern WWE storylines. Rose and Deville would also compete in the Elimination Chamber to crown the first women's tag team champions, but would finish the match runners-up, and Rose would also compete at the WrestleMania Women's Battle Royal and the Women's Money in the Bank, but once again still coming up short. Reportedly though, she was actually meant to compete for the SmackDown Women's Championship at Mania, but the match got scrapped, and Mandy and Sonya would spend the rest of the year instead pursuing the tag titles but never reaching them. In 2020 though, we'd see a shakeup of Mandy Rose's character as Fire and Desire would break up, as during a love triangle storyline with Otis and Dolph Ziggler, Sonya Deville was revealed by the SmackDown hacker, remember him, to have messed with Otis and Mandy Rose's date, and this of course led to that wholesome Mania moment with the two of them. For whatever reason though, the WWE never chose to follow up on this, and now with Mandy Rose as a babyface, chose instead to pair her in a throwaway tag team with Dana Brooke, which never went anywhere. And seemingly at some point, WWE came into the realization that Mandy Rose is much better off as a heel, as in July 2021 she would return to the NXT brand on her own as a heel once again with a whole new look, and would quickly re-establish herself in NXT in a big way. She would take JC Jane and Gigi Dolan under her wing, and they formed the Toxic Attraction, and the Toxic Attraction found great success, as at Halloween Havoc 2021, JC and Gigi first won the NXT Women's Tag titles before Mandy Rose defeated Raquel to win the NXT Women's Championship, her first and only title win ever. And Mandy Rose would have a long and very successful title reign. She defended the title against the likes of Cora Jade, Dakota Kai, Io Sky, Roxanne, Zoe Stark, Blair Davenport, Miko Satomura, Alba Fire, and more. But in December 2022, Mandy Rose's reign would come crashing down when earlier in that month, explicit photos that Mandy Rose had posted on her exclusive fan site leaked online, and reportedly WWE wasn't aware of the type of content that Mandy Rose was posting and became aware of it after it was leaked. And it's against WWE's policy to be posting this kind of content, and so because of this, Mandy would be made to drop the title to Roxanne on the December 13th NXT episode, before a day later she was shockingly released from her WWE contract. Despite an over year-long dominant title reign and WWE building her up a ton, she had broken the rules and WWE had acted on it by, as I said, firing her. And it's a shame, as Mandy was easily doing the best work of her career and had really come into her own. But while this killed her wrestling career, maybe it's unfair to say this killed her career as a whole, as reportedly she's now making way more money from OnlyFans than she ever did in her entire WWE career. And she also hasn't ruled out a WWE return in the future, so hopefully that's something we can see. Guys, that's it from me. Like the video if you want to see more wrestling content, and subscribe to be the first to see it. Happy 420, get blazing, and I'll see you all in the next video. Goodbye, and keep on rolling.